Welcome to the American Med Spa Association podcast, Medical Spa Insider. This week, AmSpa founder Alex Thiersch is speaking with Chris Suchánek, founder and chief strategy officer for Firm Media.
Refresh your body, mind, and career journey at the Women in Aesthetics Leadership Conference being held October 3rd through the 5th at California's beautiful Terranea Resort. Walk is more than just another convention. It's an immersive retreat that combines education and networking with rejuvenation. For women aesthetic professionals who dedicate their time to the health and happiness of others, this is the opportunity to get away and focus on your own wellness. Reconnect to your passions and return with bold new inspiration for your business. Walk celebrates the med spa industry's opportunities for female empowerment and entrepreneurship, including the ceremony for the 2025 Distinguished Women Awards. Find out more and register at experiencewalk.com. That's experiencewalc.com. And as a Medical Spa Insider listener, you can receive 10% off your registration if you use the promo code WALC10. That's WALC 10.
Promo code valid for inclusive registration until September 11th, 2025 at 11:59 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, or standard registration until October 3rd, 2025 at 11:59 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Promo code only applies to the primary registrant and cannot be combined with any additional offers.
Welcome, everybody. This is Alex Thiersch. Welcome to Medical Spa Insider, the podcast of AmSpa, the American Med Spa Association. And we are very grateful today to have on the AmSpa hotline Chris Suchánek. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Suchánek, yeah. Who is with Firm Media, but also recently just soft launched what he is calling Ailm Atelier, which I know I got wrong, but Ailm Media, which is really an online media platform. And Chris, you've got a ton of experience in the online media space. Firm Media, I'd love to hear a little bit more about that, but you've also been part of a bunch of things in the past. You've won some awards. You've done a ton of things. You're no stranger to media, digital marketing, and all things like that. I appreciate you joining us and giving your time. I know you're super busy and you've got a lot going on. I would love to hear a little bit about, first of all, tell folks a little bit about yourself and Firm Media, and then we'll get into why you're getting into aesthetics.
Sure. First of all, Alex, thank you for having me on the show, and I'm super excited to do this. I have my own podcast, and sometimes, it's a little bit of a struggle some days when I'm super busy to find the time to record it. But this morning I found myself super excited to be on the show, and I'm really looking forward.
Good. Yeah, appreciate that. Yeah, I have to say I struggle myself too sometimes. Not today though. Not today.
It's hard to fit it in, right? It's hard.
It is. You know what it is for me? It's always like, oh crap, I got a podcast in 20 minutes, and then it's like get going, and then my team's not here normally, so it's like I got to set up the computer myself, and normally we got a mic and anyway. Not too much anyway. Go ahead.
Yeah. So a little bit about me. My name is Chris Suchánek. I am the founder and chief strategy officer at Firm Media. Up until recently, I was the CEO I founded Firm Media at my kitchen table with $2,000 of Vonage phone line and a business card. Today we market for roughly 200 doctors nationally in the specialty medical space. So when I say specialty medical, think plastic surgeons, med spas, facial plastic surgeons. We also delve into the oral surgery and perio space because of how competitive it's gotten for things like full mouth restoration and things like that. Yeah. So we probably have half our clients are plastic surgeons, the other half are oral surgeons, and then in between that are the facial plastic surgeons, med spas, and periodontics. Yeah. These are not a stretch for the rest of our team. Firm Media is about 17 years old. I got my feet wet in the music business. Again, I started a little media company from my kitchen table. There weren't Vonage phone lines back then, but it did consist of a business card. Matter of fact, there weren't even websites back then. It's a long, fun story that I'd love to tell you someday, maybe at a show, that consists of a tuna can, a pencil, and the map of the United States. That was the size of my kitchen.
Yeah. I'm looking at your photo here, and I see Warner Brothers and MTV, things like that. So that must, you probably got some stories affiliated with that business.
Yeah. There's also a reason I don't do it anymore. But
Oh,
I did that till I was about 30 years old. I released, I got funding from different people, like you mentioned, EMI Music
yeah.
Publishing, stuff like that. I released 35 albums in 3 countries. I was
Nope.
on a marketing team for a company called Brainstorm Artists International, where we happened to, the team of people marketing one of the albums in the mid 90s won a Grammy for one of the artists. And
Awesome.
the story I like to tell is that's what really set me apart as a professional, I think.
Yeah.
As a young man in the music business in Southern California, I was in Huntington Beach, California. So I was in OC when OC was very hot for music with No Doubt and ska and punk rock and all that stuff happening. And then I went to work one day, and we went from being people that we believed were really good, where our egos were just blown out of proportion, to we won a Grammy, and now we truly know at our core. And what I often tell people is when you touch greatness at that level, it's very hard to go backwards and do something subpar.
Yeah. So can you, are you allowed to share who the artist was?
Yeah, it was a crossover artist from the Christian market named Crystal Gale. So,
Okay. Oh yeah, Crystal
yeah.
Gale. Crystal
Yeah,
Gale.
one of her first albums, and
Yeah, my
pushed
dad
that
was a big fan of Crystal Gale back in the day. Believe it or not, I'm not trying to age anybody. So my question, first of all, and I would love to get more into that. I think it's a story for another time, because that sounds like a lot of fun.
Some of them are just embarrassing.
That, you know what, of course. But I think the takeaway, at least for me, just in our initial conversation, is that obviously you were able to build that from your kitchen table up into a successful business where you were representing, well-known artists who are winning Grammys. How did you then pivot from that into aesthetics / specialty medicine? Especially, you said 17 years. I'm thinking back 17 years. Aesthetic medicine was not much of a thing 17 years ago. It was kind of a thing. It was mostly plastic surgery. There was some oral surgery and obviously some, but the lasers were, melt your face down completely. It wasn't like it was today. There were very few med spas of any substance that were doing well. How did you land in aesthetics?
Well, first of all, I do want to share that I had tattoos removed during that period, and they were literally melting them off your body.
Yeah, it is. It is. I know.
So how did I end up in aesthetics? I decided that I had gotten as far as I thought I was going to get in the music business without trying to. It sounds a little extreme, but I got to the point where I was getting older. I was in my early 30s, and I was starting to realize, to keep up with this lifestyle, I don't know if I have the bandwidth to do it. And we had done really well, and I just had thought, I'm not going to double down and continue to try to dig. I think now it's time. I had a lot of music used in film and television over the years. This is where my relationship with Warner Brothers and MTV came from. I had music used in things like Dawson's Creek, One Tree Hill, Road Rules, things like that. Smallville.
You're speaking my language. This is like my generation.
So I was fortunate enough towards the end of my time to be in the music business, where I decided I wanted to go to college. And I decided that it was time to kind of circle back on my life, finish up my education, and see if I wanted to do something else. And so I took a bunch of aptitude and interest tests, and it landed on either the entertainment business or leading and teaching. So I decided I'm going to get a degree in psychology. So I pivoted, got a degree in psychology. And then I had sold the majority of my music rights back to the people that I had music licensing with. And that was exactly enough money for me to go to college for the time that I needed to go to college. So I basically used what I had earned in that business to take myself to the next place. Got a degree in psychology. I did that for the running joke is I did it for 10 days and realized I can't do this with my life, but it was probably several months. After that, I decided I had some people that I knew that had purchased some pretty powerful domain names in the plastic surgery space. They asked me to kind of come on board and, travel around the country and do some sales. And I was always a little bit of a talker. So they put me on some airplanes. And this is a time where I would go to the large trade shows. And there were only 2 digital marketing agencies in the trade show hall floor.
And
I was with one of them. And that taught me a lot. And towards the end of my time there, I turned to one of the sort of upper management at the time. I was still kind of a kid working my way through the company, but I had a knack for it because I had such a a grounding in traditional marketing. And I don't know if this makes any sense, but I had a grounding in traditional marketing in time-tested industries where I learned about systems and protocols and the importance of how to actualize results, right? And now I stepped into this plastic surgery space where it was the Wild West, and most people doing it had nothing to do with marketing. I really didn't know much about it. They were just
and the whole processing and protocols part is like the weakest part for them mostly when it comes to running the business side, at least.
Sure. So I started working for them, and I just realized that there were so many crossover things that were applicable between the two industries. And I just started applying stuff as we go. And the last thing, one of the last weeks I worked for the agency that I worked for, I said, hey, I have an idea. I went into upper management and I said, I have an idea. I think you should take this domain name that you have, and I think you should make that domain name for fun and for free. And you should list all the plastic surgeons on it. Then you should allow people to rate those plastic surgeons and ask them questions. I was reading books like We Are Smarter Than Me, things like that. This is like right around when Wikipedia was coming out and things like that, right?
Yeah.
I was watching all this stuff unfold. And they said to me, how would we monetize that? And I said, well, I think what would happen is it would become a consumer-based magazine, and then you would monetize the eyeballs. So at first, you just get the traffic, then you monetize the eyeballs. This was a relatively new concept back then. And what I was told was no. And so I decided, I think it's time for me to try to figure something out. So I went off on my own and I started Firm Media. And Ailm Atelier was on a sticky note for about 12 years, sitting in my Padfolio, just this concept that I had sketched out, because everybody knows that there were magazines that came out that have that exact same business model that did very well. Platforms like Real Self and people like that emerged shortly after, which helped me to see that my idea was probably a pretty good idea. And so I decided I'm gonna hold on to this until the time is right. And this is how I believed the time was right. I didn't have a platform. I didn't have a domain name, and all of those other ideas about rating and user-generated content had kind of been played out in the industry and used to somebody's benefit already. So I just waited. And then as I started to realize there's a new generation, I started watching what was happening at Firm Media and realized we had to become savvier marketers to be able to serve our clients better. And this is why I left the CEO role and became the chief strategist. I wanted to go back to what I started doing at my kitchen table, which was figuring out how to put butts in seats, right? And so when I pivoted back to that, I got to the point where I started realizing there's a new generation of consumer coming. And this new generation of consumer is tired of being sold to. They don't care about your car or your plane or how many offices you have in 2 different parts of the world or whatever, right? These people want authenticity, and authenticity is becoming a business model. They want to know who their provider is. They want to know why they should trust their provider. And with all the things that are coming up now, like, all the backlash on med spas and things like that, right? Like, you're watching it all unfold. People want accountability. People want to know who their provider is. They want to be treated well.
Mostly it's all about trust. Like you said, it's trust. They want to trust the provider.
Sure. And so when I saw this coming, I thought this is the time for Ailm Atelier. So,
I have to back you up a little bit because I'm curious. Number one, explain the origin of the name, because I know it's French. And I think I had someone explain to me earlier, and I've forgotten what it meant. But it's the first part is an acronym, and the second part I think is French, and it means something, and it's kind of cool. So talk about that for a second.
Yeah, it's a little anticlimactic because it's not spelled as an acronym, because I'm big on like when I come up with a new product, like I have like Operation Angeline or Project Ailm, and Project Ailm was literally aesthetic industry lifestyle magazine. And I had no idea what the name was going to be. I just called it Project Ailm.
Aesthetic Industry Lifestyle Magazine. All right, I like it.
And so, but then as we started building it out, I started realizing I'm trying to go for this L or magazine look, or this. I want it to feel sophisticated.
Yeah.
And Ailm started to stick with me. So I'm not going to make it an acronym. I'm going to stick with capital A and then ILM. And then when we launched the podcast, which was the first thing to launch, I called it the Ailm Practice Education Series. And that was a whole thing that we launched there. And that was the first thing to launch. And then we dove into the magazine, and Atelier means workshop. So it's Aesthetic Industry Lifestyle Magazine Workshop. So where we workshop and tell stories.
Okay.
The only way for a surgeon to be to have a feature written about them in the magazine is for them to be nominated.
Okay.
So you can't buy your way in. You can't ask to have your way in. The only way in is for someone to nominate you. And then the sort of the center of each piece. It doesn't mean we don't interview the surgeon, the plastic surgeon, or the oral surgeon, whoever's got their story, but we're really looking for life-changing stories and patient quotes and feedback to validate this person's the work that they've done to change lives, right?
Right. Gotcha.
Which my belief is humanizes the surgeon.
Right.
It humanizes the experience. And it also, I mean, we've had plastic surgeons who are incredible at some of the stuff they do, whether it's, gender affirmation or breast augmentation or lipo and tummy tuck or body contouring, where they have these incredible results. And then all of a sudden, we start talking to them about the most memorable thing they've done, and they talk about someone who had their skull bitten by a dog, and they use tissue expanders to put the hairline back to where it was. And then when you see these before and after photos, you're like,
that's always what it is. I totally agree. So walk me through though, because you mentioned that when you had the idea, it was on your Post-it note for a number of years. It was, the idea where you could talk about surgeons and people could come on and rate them in the kind of the ilk of real self and those types of things. What's the through line there between what you're doing with workshopping for plastic surgeons, telling their stories about changing lives, and where it originally came from? Or was this your original idea, or has it evolved a little bit?
No, it was on the sticky note for so long because all the ideas had been taken. I had to wait for life to settle a new idea inside of me after reading what I read and do what I do. It's just the way I am.
That's the way it works, right?
So I was waiting for the inspiration. When the inspiration came along and I started really looking at the new types of clientele that our practices were facing, I started realizing now is the time. And authenticity is a business model. So brand positioning has never been more important in marketing, right? Marketing about what a breast augmentation is just noise. Nobody wants to know that anymore. They want to know who you are, why I should choose you. Who are you? What are you doing? Why should I choose you?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so as Ailm started to launch, right? It's like you said, it's in the soft launch. What we're trying to do is you can only be nominated to be in the magazine. Then once the feature's written, then we ask each person, we send them a media kit, and we ask them to push it out to social. And whoever gets the most votes on their article then gets the opportunity to become that month's top doc. Whoever gets the most votes for the year gets to be the annual top doc.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, and what's the response? When I was on your website, you've had some some docs that I know of. There have been a few that I haven't, but several that I know of that are very big names. Others that I think are maybe not as well known in the plastic surgery world, but are pretty well known in our space that I thought was great. I think you had Dr. Kim Evans on there, which is phenomenal. How's the reception been so far? What's the feedback been, and how are you feeling about things as you go along with your soft?
It's a bootstrap situation for sure.
Yeah.
The podcast has been out the longest, and it's creating the most traction.
Yeah.
This is interesting. We just got a doctor from the East Coast who was nominated about 4 months ago to be in the magazine. And these auto emails go out to tell you that you were nominated and to book a time to be on the thing. And people don't know what it is. So they think that right now they think it's spam, or they think it's paid media. So they're going to book it. We're going to try to sell them something. Yeah. And over the weekend, we got an email from the doctor that said, I thought this was spam. And then I looked into it and realized I really want to participate in this. So we're just doing our due diligence until we're trying to get it to crack a ceiling. And then when it cracks a ceiling, we'll start to put more revenue into it. So this is what we'll consider the hard launch. My belief is we probably need 50 to 100 articles in the magazine to create that tipping point. And I think it's closer to 100 than 50. There's 3 verticals in the magazine. One vertical is the doctor stories. The second drop down or vertical is industry news,
right?
Which we've done a piece on you and trade shows and what's evolving there. And then the next is the podcast, which is usually in high-end industry consultants. I've been in the industry for a very long time, and it didn't dawn on me. There was a certain point where I really started putting myself back on the map. There was a lot of years where I worked at Firm Media. I was here being the CEO. I was making sure things run smoothly. I had a sales team going to trade shows, and I wasn't really the face. And then when I decided to make some significant changes and really focus more aggressively on brand positioning strategy and putting butts in seats instead of just beautiful websites, I started looking at what I needed to do to accomplish that. And do you know who Angelina is from the 90s in Hollywood?
Who? Angelina?
Angeline.
Maybe.
So she had a pink Corvette. She was a blonde bombshell, and they put her on every billboard in Los Angeles.
Yes, I think I know who you're talking about. Yes.
Right. And literally the most recognized blonde bombshell in Los Angeles for a decade, right?
Yeah.
So after I decided to start making changes around here, I wrote up a document and I brought it into the marketing team and I said, I have this document for you, and it was titled Project Angeline, which I do, right? Project Operation.
Yeah.
Project Angeline. And they all said, who's Angeline? Because they're younger. And one of them said, I know who that is. I saw a movie about her on Netflix. I said, okay. Well, in the 90s, she was the most recognizable face in the industry, and she didn't have an ounce of talent. I mean, she did records, she did movies. None of them were successful. I guess somebody probably liked them, so I can't say she didn't have an ounce of talent. I said to them, I said, I think I have more than an ounce of talent. And so what I need you to do is, because I cut loose all the people that used to go to trade shows, I need you, this team, to make me the most recognized face at the trade shows over the next year and a half. So they started buying these massive banners of my face, and I started a podcast, and a whole bunch of stuff just started unfolding. And I had to reestablish all the relationships, because I decided, this is the hard, cold truth. Goes back to the Grammy.
Yeah.
I started something from my kitchen table, and I took it to a place where somebody let me hold a Grammy.
Mm-hmm.
And then I built Firm Media, and we started by 2015, we were named Agency of the Year by the American Advertising Federation. Every year since, we've won some sort of award, and that's not a shabby agency. And we won some sort of award for our website design, media production. Everything was super top notch. But I started to come to work, and I started to feel like we're doing really great work, or we're doing really good work. But in my core, I know it's not great. It needs to be great. And for it to be great, I need to go back to the steering wheel. And so Ailm was kind of birthed out of this whole period where I started, 2 years ago, I started looking at how we were engaging practices, what trade shows we were going, how often I was speaking. I started writing for Forbes magazine, specifically on specialty medical marketing. I won an award last year from Brains magazine on thought leadership and personal development, which is just using my counseling background. But I really just started putting myself out there and ended up on situations like this.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's inspiring. I mean, it's, I'm curious. Well, I have a couple of follow-up questions. One, you mentioned transitioning from CEO to CSO, which is interesting. You don't often hear of folks doing that, because then you presumably have to bring in a CEO who then is kind of running it, and you're now at the CSO position, and you've got somebody who's kind of keeping the train on the tracks. What was that transition like? Was that seamless for you? Was it exactly what you were looking for, or how did that work? Because which was interesting comment that you made.
It was awesome and super hard all at the same time.
Yeah, I'll bet.
I built the company, but here's what happened. I just started being very careful about the people I aligned with in every area of the company. And I started attracting these people and, sort of repelling those people. And the consultant I hired used the phrase, people will pop out. And that's what happened. People started to pop out. And I had to be aware.
Now, what does that mean?
Meaning, I was going to set new standards for the company, and the people that didn't want us to go in that direction would eventually just pop out.
Gotcha.
It meant higher levels of accountability. It meant more scrutiny over the campaigns we're developing, better return on investment for our clients, right? And that meant working harder, maybe working smarter, not harder. And a much higher degree of critical thinking had to come to the office, and that some people just don't want to do that. That's okay.
Yeah. Sure.
And then I brought in someone to be a chief revenue officer who I'd known for 20 years, who owned another agency here local. We did not compete. He wasn't in the aesthetic space, but he does some pretty big brands like Audi and things like that. Brought him in. This is an interesting story. He saw me posting on social media, and I don't know if you know this, but I had a red chair campaign where I was on these banners and sitting in this red chair. And so it's a long story. What I thought was, if I can put myself in this red chair and then create this, then I would get practices wanting to see themselves in the red chair, right? So this is part of Project Angeline, right? Not a orange pink Corvette, but a red chair, right?
Yeah, I like it.
And so we picked this red chair, and then he reaches out to me and says, I don't know what you've been doing, but I've never seen you reach out. You've always had an impressive agency, but you are making a run for it. And what he said to me was, I've been doing really good work for a long time. I have been telling the people that I'm surrounded by I want to do great work, and it seems to me that you're really swinging for that right now. And so I hired him to come in as a chief revenue officer. He was here for about a year, and I realized that he's just better at some of those details than I am, and I'm way better at strategy. So you go do that stuff and deal with the CFO and deal with accounting and deal with the CPA, and I'll align all those pieces for you. And my number one goal is, I said to him, look, I want you to be successful, so I am going to support you in every way possible. Then was the rub, right? Now I'm letting go of this thing that I started, and
yeah. And how much have you actually let go of it, though? Because I presume you still own the company.
Yeah,
so
I still own the company. I'm founder and chief strategy officer, and he's fully seated in the CEO, and I don't go to those upper management meetings. I'll be in here and I'll be working with a client. We'll come up with a new strategy, and they'll be like, I have these 3 friends in different practices that I want to introduce you to, and I'm like, man, I'm back in the game. Like,
yeah,
this is great. And then I walk out and I see them in the fishbowl having a meeting, and I think, thank God I'm not in there.
That's interesting. That's fascinating. I bet, you know what, though? I bet there's a lot of folks, because we're seeing in our industry kind of, we're at almost an inflection point, because a lot of the med spas have started, they've grown, they're being acquired, they've expanded. And a lot of the folks who started them have been doing this for a long time. And, it's tiring to run and build a business. 17 years is a long time. And I feel like really there's a kind of a cohort of them that is like ready to kind of move on to the next thing. And I think that probably resonates with some of them, like, oh man, to not have to have that pressure, not have to make those kinds of decisions, and be able to just kind of be a little freewheeling and creative is probably got some appeal. So that's cool.
Yeah, anyone who knows Nathan, and both Nathan and I locally, who are in media, right, in the industry for advertising in Southern California, when they saw the post on LinkedIn, were like, one of them said, I screamed out loud when I saw the 2 of you working together. So he's a very smart guy. He's at some levels just better at some of those day-to-day details than I am. I'm a big picture guy. And this has created the right niche for me to be able to let go of some of that stuff. You have no idea how industry-wide, how many CEOs have reached out to me privately and said, like, this is so genius. How do I? I was like, really? I just surrendered.
Yeah. I'm telling you, the wheel are spinning in my head right now too.
Yeah.
So with Ailm, what is a fully built out, like in your dream vision, after you get the traction you're looking for, 100 articles, you start to pick up some steam. What does it look like? What does the final version of this look like in your head?
Consumer based
now.
Consumer based. So what I see is right now it's an industry magazine, right, with industry news where you get doctors' articles being written in there. It's good push piece for the article for the doctors. It's earned media. It's free. They don't have to pay for it. They get to push it out to their social. It's the magazine's small enough now where if you just try a little, you might end up with the top doc award. So then you get, the lapel pins and the award that goes to your office. And at the end of the year, there'll be one print copy with all the year's top docs in it and some good industry stories. So it's a really good time to be doing that. But what's going to happen, and then you have industry news. So you have the doctors going there to read about themselves and their friends, and now they're reading about the industry news reading about the doctors. And then you have the practice education series where you have treatment coordinators, office admin, and maybe even surgeons going there to listen to top end consultants, right? I think I started to say earlier and didn't finish, is I'm connected. I realized over the years that I'm connected to some of the smartest people in the industry, but we don't all talk together. So that was the idea behind the podcast, was get some of these really smart people in who we all have speaking at the meetings, and get them to start talking together a little bit in like 20-minute little snippets.
Yeah.
Send it out. After this thing starts getting pushed to social, something that I believe was going to happen organically, which has already started to happen, is, let's say I have Dr. Deckard in there from San Antonio, right? Plastic surgeon in San Antonio, has a couple med spas. He's in there for some work that he did. Now, because it's a brand new article, when somebody searches Dr. Deckard San Antonio, the Ailm article shows up, right?
Yeah.
So now, when this starts to happen with 100 practices across the country, right now, consumers are finding this magazine to tell this really great story about this person before they even go visit their website. Now it starts to become about eyeballs. And if the doctors are pushing this out on their social and through their email marketing to try and achieve this top doctor status, you start to become a consumer-based magazine where people are kind of going there to read about the people that they're looking for. Yep. I don't ever see it becoming, now it may become a directory in the sense that you might be able to search for a doctor or a provider, but I do not see us going down the road where we start monetizing directories. And I believe that whenever platforms like that have gone this route, and then they get to a certain point, and then they start to monetize something beyond what it was intended for, I believe that the platform starts to fail. So my belief is there's a space for Ailm, and I want to get it there, and then I want to let it stay. I want to let it be there and let it become organically what it wants to become. My belief is that if you do great work, the revenue shows up. I don't need to keep grabbing for more.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that's kind of one of our mottos here, is like, you just you do good things, you treat people well, and the money follows. Mm-hmm. So then you did mention, though, are you going to add a component where the public and patients can actually like rate doctors, or can actually comment on doctors or anything like that? Or is it?
I don't know about that remains to be seen. Yeah. You know, right now, I think that we're having some strategic partnership conversations with things like AI generated before and after photo types, where we might put some tools in there for people to be like, what is my facelift going to look like? Or, you know what I mean? That kind of stuff. And so right now we're kind of adding value to it as it grows, as more consumers visit it. We want to make it for fun and for free, and see how that goes, right?
Now, are you full-time with Ailm, or are you still working for Firm Media doing client work there as well?
No, I'm 100% client work, and Ailm has a team of people inside of Firm Media that is separate from Firm Media that works on Ailm.
Okay, gotcha.
And I'm there to be, actually Nathan is running that. I go to the meetings to say, oh, I know that guy, I can text him. I know that guy, I can text him. So, which is probably how we ended up here.
Yeah, I think it is. Well, that's exciting. That's really cool. And then, so if folks want to get, it's a nomination process for a doctor. How does that work? Is there a link they can click on? Where do they go to find that? Do you have any idea?
Yeah, AilmAtelier.com. If you can't find it because you can't spell it, just Google Ailm Digital Magazine, AILM Digital Magazine. There's tons of stuff out there on it right now. Click on the link. The nominate button's everywhere. Nominate a doctor, tell a little story, and then the automated process starts, and then we get someone on an interview. And right now the interviews are not automated. They're done with a real content writer, and we're going to keep it that way for a little while. We do have some ideas to automate some of it, but
Yep. You mean like automated, like with AI, have it like kind of generated?
What I see the future being is there might be a series of questions that get pushed out in advance where you might have to answer them, and then the basic nuts and bolts of the article is done, and then we get someone on to, like, you know what I mean? So we're not doing a bunch of like meetings and things like that.
Yeah, gotcha. And then Firm Media, still the same focus within aesthetics and med spas, and just kind of a thumbnail sketch. Is this a full service marketing platform? Is it just full service digital media? What's your
website design, search engine optimization, PPC, anything digital, social media ads. We have unparalleled video production and photography. And I think it's also important to mention we trademarked the methodology brand name called OmniBlend Advertising about 2 years ago. And so that's a newer product that's going out. And just a quick $2 tour through what it is.
Yeah.
I can take a brand new med spa when they open. I'm working with 3 or 4 of them right now, talking about working on this through some referral partners. Let's say you're opening a brand new med spa, or you bought one and you're trying to reestablish yourself as the new owner of that or something like that. Or you used to be the juggernaut med spa in the industry, in the region, and now a bunch opened around you and you need to really step up your marketing again, right? I can take the location of the address of the med spa or the plastic surgery practice or whatever it may be, and then I can geofence a 5, 10, 15-mile radius, depending on what market it is. And then we can thin slice big data to figure out not just the streets, but the actual addresses of the people who have the right household demographic, household income, all of that good stuff, right? Now, with those households, I can show them, I can send a postcard to their mailbox. I can send a TV commercial to their TV. And then once they scan the QR code, I can start sending social ads to their phone. So we call this OmniBlend. It's really just old school mixed media marketing, because you could throw things like digital billboards in there or radio. We've been dabbling with Spotify advertising. I don't know of anybody doing it. And I'm super excited.
It literally is like almost bespoke advertising for individuals based upon where
full scale assault on your house. And we're in your mailbox, the biggest screen on your TV, your biggest screen in the house. And
that's crazy. That's crazy. That's awesome. Good for you, man.
Yeah. I'm trying to get traction with that. It's interesting because it's more expensive than digital marketing. And I think there was a time when some practices used to do TV commercials and radio and things like that, but everybody migrated to digital because it was less expensive and more focused.
Yeah.
So this is now, it's a little more than digital marketing, but the idea is it's not saturated.
Yeah.
And it helps you rise above. And you don't have to do it year after year after year. You can do it for 6 months and stop. Do it during summer when you're slow to ramp up for the busy season, or just do it during the busy season.
Yeah. I feel like the whole like connected TV thing, that's a whole new world out there. It's not new, but like that's where you can do a lot of advertising there, because everyone's
pennies. Pennies. I'm doing it in everyone's house for pennies.
Right there. Yeah. We've been looking at that as well. It's where you don't really think about it, but then it's the same thing. It's all connected. So it's the same demographic. You can find people, you can geofence them, all that kind of stuff. That's crazy.
But we're putting QR codes on all this stuff as we show it to the people, and then it's all going back to one landing page. So now we're actually measuring what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So it's not like it used to be where you don't really know. I mean, you don't get not everybody scans it, but you get a sampling.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the doctor's walking around town going to the country club or whatever and hearing like, oh, I saw you on TV.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. Well, that's cool. I look forward to seeing this evolve. I think it's a great idea. By the way, is this just a digital magazine, or is there any print magazines involved?
The only print will be the last issue of the year right now.
Okay.
Last issue of the year, we'll have all the top docs, some of the top industry stories. Right now, the industry stories are paid. That's paid advertising, basically. That's sort of how our revenue stream is.
Yeah.
People place ads on the site. We write an article for you. They can buy advertising space in the podcast, things like that.
Okay.
It can even be on the podcast.
Yeah. Cool. Well, congrats on this. I mean, I know you've done a lot, so it sounds kind of silly congratulating you on success because you've had a lot of it. But this is a cool endeavor that you're doing. I think I can't wait to see what comes of it. And our med spas are kind of cocked and ready for this as well. So we look forward to seeing what comes of it. We'd love to have some of our folks in there too. I think it does great because we're med spas are shaping the non-surgical side of the industry. It's a whole new world out there. And so there's a lot of folks who are very, very cutting edge with doing things. And it's cool. We'll have to make sure we get you to our meetings and get folks we'll get your face on one of the benches.
OmniBlend.
But all right, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much. It was good talking to you.
Yeah, Alex, you too. I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me on the show.
Absolutely. Love to have you back.
Refresh your body, mind, and career journey at the Women in Aesthetics Leadership Conference being held October 3rd through the 5th at California's beautiful Terranea Resort. Walk is more than just another convention. It's an immersive retreat that combines education and networking with rejuvenation. For women aesthetic professionals who dedicate their time to the health and happiness of others, this is the opportunity to get away and focus on your own wellness. Reconnect to your passions and return with bold new inspiration for your business. Walk celebrates the med spa industry's opportunities for female empowerment and entrepreneurship, including the ceremony for the 2025 Distinguished Women Awards. Find out more and register at experiencewalk.com. That's experiencewalc.com. And as a Medical Spa Insider listener, you can receive 10% off your registration if you use the promo code WALC10. That's WALC 10.
Promo code valid for inclusive registration until September 11th, 2025 at 11:59 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, or standard registration until October 3rd, 2025 at 11:59 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Promo code only applies to the primary registrant and cannot be combined with any additional offers. Thank you to our producers, Madeline Mahler, Marketing Content Coordinator, who organizes the podcast schedule and guests, provides topics and talking points. And myself, Joe DeGuzman, Technology Operations Manager. I handle the audio and video editing, voiceovers, and tech. Kate Harper, Senior Digital Marketing Coordinator, who makes all of our graphics and manages the podcast platform. Esme Uriostegui, Senior Social Media Coordinator, who makes and posts all the clips for the podcast and posts them to our social feeds. Our music is by Ghost Score. Thank you for listening to or watching the Medical Spa Insider podcast. Please follow or subscribe to wherever you listen to your podcasts and subscribe to our YouTube channel for future episodes. For more information about the American Med Spa Association, please check our show notes or in the description below.